We'll go ahead and get started then. Let's see here. I've got a little outline. It's a brief outline of what I hope to achieve today. And then, of course, you're welcome to bring in your own questions and objectives and comments and whatever you'd like to do today. First off, before we get too dirty into license plate, I'll just do a little reminder session here on multi-bin warehouse management. Just spend 5 minutes just to remind us the core of the system. So maybe that with a little base that will help get us warmed up here for license plate talk. So I prepared this little outline to help guide us a little bit, and you know, it's license plates are not those things that are on the car. License plates are the entity or entity code in the system to represent a group of items. Simply that. It's a number to represent a group of items. So why license plate and what are the advantages? Oh, let me back up one step, pardon me. Let's talk about multi-bin and the warehouse management and the core of the system, okay? And just to remind us what we have here. All right, so just looking at an inventory item, I'm looking at my inventory in different bin locations. We have location types, which could represent areas of the warehouse or some functionality, like I might have primary bin locations, which might take precedence over other bin locations, especially for picking. I could have regular pick locations, which are my locations that I would typically pick from. I can have overflow locations, which tend to be my back stock or fresh new inventory, or large case packs or palleted goods, because maybe the customer wants to be able to separate that inventory in picking, and the system has settings to get that kind of inventory. The idea here is so that they don't deplete their regular picking or their primary picking area just to accommodate a very large order. So then you have staging locations, which we set up in the warehouse. They might be like a receiving dock, shipping dock, or for manufacturing, they might represent where we're producing finished goods into. We like a quality control location so they can, you know, review the inventory in the staging location, so that that they can keep it on hold until they're ready to release it. So in the system, we have these location types and zones of the warehouse, which we call regions, and so then we use that information for directed picking and directed put away, and that represents the warehouse management portion of the system, and where directed picking assists in the sales process into allocating inventory. There's algorithms set, and we'll talk about some of the algorithms as they apply for license plate too today. And then directed put away side of things help advise where to put goods. And of course, you know, there's all the functionality in the system to do transfers and whatever you need to run with the system in Mass 90. But of course, RF handhelds, we work with the ScanForce, ScanCo, and WO-Scan a lot. We work with those companies a lot, and you can use RF handhelds to do real-time inventory transactions, transfers, sales, shipping, receiving, and everything else those guys do. So, all right. So hopefully that's a good warm-up there. And I should say here I have this checklist here, the why license plate and what are the advantages. You know, if you look at regular inventory and multi-bin, and if you remember how some of the screens are, we're often representing the inventory in inventory maintenance and bin location maintenance and on pick sheets and so on. So I wanted to pull up inventory maintenance here, and let me see if I can get this screen up without all this jumping around here. I'm going to pull up bin location maintenance also. So looking at multi-bin inventory here for this item, we can see that we have our inventory spread out, these bin locations here. On the left-hand side, we're categorizing it by location type and by region, which is synonymous with zones of a warehouse. And then so when one looks at their inventory, and actually, let me skim along here. If I were to look at my inventory this way, here I have a allotted inventory item. If I were to tell you in bin location B10L, note there's 1,000, quantity on hand of 1,000. You have no idea of how many case packs that is, if there's a pallet in there. There's nothing to segregate a case pack or packaged inventory from just regular inventory. Inventory, we're seeing it here, is just that standard unit measure. And Mass 90 doesn't have the capacity to count how many case packs we have in a location or palleted goods. So anyway, I just thought I would introduce us in this fashion, saying, well, a common customer requirement is I have case pack inventory, and I would like to sell that ahead of my individual eaches of my inventory, and I might have case packs, I might have master packs of inventory, or I might have a full pallet of the same item available to sell. And so wouldn't it be nice where the system can tell me where that inventory is, and of course do exactly that, allocate from it first, and so that the system can automatically sell those goods ahead of just depleting, let's say, my primary bin locations or any other bin locations of just my eaches. So by looking at this item right here, we see that I have a allotted inventory, and now you see in these columns here representing pallet and case packs here that they're filled in with information, and they're representing case pack IDs. And then these ID types, and we'll talk about ID types and the benefits of those today. And then over here on the left-hand side, we can quickly glance on how on my quantity available of each of my case packs and pallets and so on. In my pick area, I have 9 case packs, and I can break it out like this, and I could see that there's 50 available in this particular case pack. I can see what that is, that lot number. I can go on the right-hand side, and these are my buttons that are intrinsic to the license plate product over here. So if I click on the pallet here, I can drill down and I can see the contents of that ID. So I might say license plate ID or case pack ID, pardon me, all the same. So, okay. So we drill down that just to get a full glimpse of what's in there, and we could do other functions, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Over here, right under here, there's a master pack. There's 0 quantity available. There's just one that was in the system. Note that in this master pack, I have some other IDs that are attached to it. So I can take one ID and have multiple IDs built into one ID, in this case a master pack. In this case, if I click on that and click on the pallet button, here I have a drill down right into that ID, pallet ID. You're seeing the full contents of all the that master pack here in the main body of the screen. On the left-hand side, I see the breakdown from the master pack into each individual ID. And of course, you can see then with the contents of each ID therein. We'll talk more about the ID maintenance here in a little bit, but I just wanted to give an overview. So here now I can see that in bin location B30M, I have these case packs in here, and there might be 50. There's 50 in each one of these. Master pack here, there's one master pack actually, and there's 4 case packs within those, and there's a total of 100 in there. And there's a pallet down here at the very, very bottom, and that's sitting in the receiving staging location. So now I have a view of my inventory with the eaches. I might add, or right up here on top, you could tell there's no ID associated to them, of course. That's one quick way of seeing it. By the way, when you look on the left-hand side, back into the tree on the left-hand side, we do try to represent not only the case packs, but the eaches too. So in the pick area, there's 250 eaches total. And then, of course, we talked about the case packs. The staging area, that's my receiving dock, has that pallet I was referring to. And then in my primary bin locations, there's 75 eaches. So just a little overview. We can use this information now, for sales and so on. So what I thought I would do is mention some of the benefits of having this for the user. So what you can do is, and this covers it right down here, is to optimize sale of the best case pack. So those customers that do have case packs, master packs, normally their objective is to sell those case packs ahead of the eaches, like I was speaking before, and to have the system automatically allocate that is just great. And we'll go through that today. Provide contents of pallets, packages. So customers who are sophisticated or to that level will require that information. Compliance now to customers to have to provide either advanced ship notices or to provide electronic information which has the contents of the pallets or the case packs. The barcode is a great source. The uniform barcode can be provided on the package, and scanning that, and then now on the handheld that can represent the contents of that package. Not to say just simple printing and emailing of electronic information. That's all there, and we'll get to that. So also knowing the contents of the pallets when you're out in the warehouse. No longer you have to dig through it. You know which lot numbers are in there, and and if there's a mixed pallet, you know where the items on there. That definitely helps with physical count. If you shrink wrap that inventory, it's easy to scan that inventory, and you can pull that quantity on hand information right into the system. And hopefully we can get to that today. Printed pallet tag report. You'll see throughout the system you have the ability to create new IDs and to be able to print on the fly. And as well on the RF handheld vendors provide the ability to print a pallet tag report on the fly too. And not just a report, but it could be a label too, a pallet tag label. And that would represent the contents of it. If you could think of, let's say, a mixed pallet again, print a pallet tag report and it's on there. You take some off, you can print another report, put it right back on there so someone can see exactly what's the contents of that pallet. And then of course labeling is wonderful for shipping and to identify the pallets and the contents of packages too. Moving goods around, you'll see that you'll be able to move any number of items with an ID to one location to another. And we talked about the inventory accounts and, of course, scanning. And right now, ScanForce is our leader in integrating with license plate. If you have ScanCo going, they say they're working on it, but right now, ScanForce has had a couple years into this, and so they have good depth into our product already. What we want to do today is cover how to build up contents of the license plate ID and how to and to how categorize your inventory so that you can get counts of your inventory by the ID type, and then how to move inventory around and how to sell it. And then we'll talk a few other things on history and so on. So let me put that away, and let me see if I can pull up the screen here and get us right into this. And if you have multi-bin warehouse management for a user today, and I think you all do one way or another, the way it works is you should just install a more current update of our software. You know, if you haven't installed an update in the last month or two, you know, we invested a lot in the license plate, you know, every few months. So there's been many features added here in the last few months. So, but in order to enable it, just need an activation key. And the activation key will represent that you have activation right here. And then to turn it on, you go into the infamous multi-bin options into inventory setup, under inventory setup, and you can select the option that says enable license plate pallet management right there. Then one setup item that might really help out ahead of time is setting up pallet ID type codes. And so here too, right under the inventory setup menu, we have the pallet ID type code maintenance and pallet ID maintenance. So if I go in here, you can see what I have set up, and I'll create another one here. We have case packs and a description and a next number. So the ID number can be incremented by the type of package that you have. So if you have, for example, in my case, I use the word PAL, short pallet, PAL, to represent my mixed case packs, or mixed pallets, pardon me. Let's pallet for mixed items. How about like that? So, and then I have case to represent case packs and master packs for other items, and then so on. So not required, but it might be helpful to have the part of that ID type code in the next ID number. So in my case here, I start off with the initials of the ID type in the very beginning. It's a 15-character ID code. So, and just fill it in. So let's go test, and we'll call this test and test. And here, to get all 15 characters, I'll back off, what, 3 of them, like that. And then this way, when I select that ID type, then that would start off with that number. Just helps with the viewability and understanding already what the contents of that is. And I'll say test for mixed palleted goods. So setting up the step number 1, setting up the ID type is very helpful. And then what I would like to do is cover two ways of doing this. The creation of a mixed pallet, how to get goods into the mixed pallet, printing, and then we'll get into case packs and master packs, and how to create a case pack of the same item, and some of the things that are sort of beneficial to the system and selling in that fashion. Okay, so first off, I'm going to create a pallet ID right in pallet ID maintenance. Not required, but for our example, it's a good way to warm up into the license plate product. So I can actually see what I have here. Notice the default type. This is like a lookup control mechanism, and this controls or helps filter my lookups and some other things that you'll see soon. So in this case, it's representing all. If I do a lookup of everything I have out here, you're seeing all my different case packs and pallet types out here, starting with the CAS and PAL. Here's I have one pallet type. To filter it, let's say if I just want to see all the pallets, I could do something like that, and I just have one out here. And note, it's in the receiving dock. I selected it, and now you see the contents of it. It seems that there are 2 IDs attached to it, and and over here is the contents of everything. So in pallet ID maintenance, it gives me the ability to create the codes and then manage the inventory within there, and a few other things which we'll cover right now. So number 1, printing. We provide a quick print, and with the quick print, this gives you the ability to print the contents of the ID. There is something special in the background, what we call a map. You could choose to have it or not in your crystal. The map is giving me, in my case, a linkage back into sub-IDs or IDs attached to it. Obviously, for customers who don't need this sort of thing, it's overkill. But for my case here, to know where my inventory is, I have that. And I take it I probably have a group sort by the ID code going in here, and you can see all my inventory associated with this. The system, an ID, always computes the total weight, the number of cartons, and the total quantity on there. And in being in part of a business object and Mass 90 and all that business object party, the system intrinsically always calculates this information as you process it. You might take inventory out or inventory in, sell it completely, all that business, and it always computes that information. So here I just printed it. I'll come back into that palette. Let me reselect it here. So the controls on the top give me a few features. For example, I can transfer that ID to one location to another. Click the transfer, select the destination bin location, and it will move the ID along with all the inventory to another bin location. The link button allows me to link this ID into another, and we'll get to that in a little bit. And the way that works is I can select this 7, this pallet ID 7, and hit the link, and I can link it into the body of another ID. And of course, I don't have other pallets here, but here, let's just fake out this, or you know what, better yet, I'll select the master pack. If I select the master pack, I could choose to link it from the top of the tree or under another ID. So if I were to do something like this, for example, and hit proceed, it would link it under this CAS 8 ID. So 3 levels in order to do it. If I click the top one, it would link it right to the top. We'll get to that. That's linking. That links one ID to another. Break is very handy. This gives you the power to break inventory within a bin location. So actually, we'll get to that in a little bit, but just describe it right now of the features. First off, when you just click into it, it gives you the option to break the entire contents of the ID into its current bin location. So in this case, obviously we have there's 2 IDs attached to it, and I have all this inventory in there. And what it will do is it'll break all these 3 items out of this pallet ID into the current bin location if I click this button and hit proceed. If I were to click within an ID under the top of the tree, then it will give me an option to break it down at that level. So here I'm at the 2nd level. I selected that pack 337, and it's still giving me the choice of breaking it down to the standard unit of measure, but I can break it down at the second level. This is really handy if I just wanted to get rid of the pallet 7, but I wanted to keep the case packs under it and have that in my inventory under that bin location. This last option, splice, that will splice off pack 337 out of the pallet, and still pack 337 will be off on its own as an ID. So let's create one. Let's create a pallet. Let's see. I'm gonna use the pallet. So all I have to do is select the default type. If I don't select the ID type, the system's going to prompt me one. So I'm going to hit the next number, and note it prompts me for, well, what kind of type are you really talking about? And I'm going to select the pallet type, and here it incremented it for me. The one requirement is the system needs to know which bin location, which warehouse and which bin location it is in. If you have some of the defaults set in the system, so for example, if you're creating a next ID within a transaction, for example, in the receiving, and if the system sees that you have a receiving staging location in warehouse code maintenance, then it will default that for you. Otherwise, it will prompt you for the bin location that it's going to, and we'll go through that. In this case, warehouse 000, and let's see, and let's drop it into down here. I never use E, so I'll just create E just like that. So created it, it's in the system, and now what I'll do here is let me go into a bin location. One hint is moving inventory into an ID using the system this way. It's more common to use bin location maintenance to transfer inventory into an ID that's a mixed pallet ID. Obviously, if you're using the same ID or the same item ID, then maybe inventory maintenance is a lot easier. And we'll go through that, and that will make sense here a little bit. So here I'm in bin location A20M, and I can choose to select ARS 9101, and all I have to do is a transfer. You're doing transfers today in our software. All you got to do is select the transfer. Oh, pardon me. I'm going to filter this. I'm going to filter it for pallets, and I'm going to select the new pallet that I created here, and then I'll do a transfer. And now actually the screen just didn't refresh. Oh, pardon me. You know what? When I transferred it, it went to the destination bin location. So I was looking at my inventory here in A20M, but I had my inventory in a different bin location. So let me get that. So here I was in E40M. So that's one when you're moving inventory from one bin location to another, that's look for that. It's a lot easier if you have it all together. So in this case, I not only put my inventory into that ID, but I moved the location of the inventory too. In the real world, that's probably not practical, but anyway, I got stuck doing that. So let's go back in here. So now here you see the ID is in here. Let's go back to I think that was A30M, A20M. Here we go. So in this case, I transferred that 15 pieces into that ID. So I could sit here one at a time and do that transfer, just using the quick transfer. And if you recall, the quick transfer is in both inventory maintenance and bin location maintenance. We also provide the group transfer. So you might say, you know, I want to transfer more than one item at a time into that ID, and that's one great thing of looking at looking at your inventory from the bin location. So I can select the group transfer. I can select 2 or 3 items here. I don't have to take the complete contents. There was 151 and 73. And I'll go ahead and select my ID. If you haven't seen the group transfer before, I have the group transfer gives me the ability to transfer inventory quickly from one location to another. I can select all the inventory in here by hitting the green button. I could have selected a destination bin location, but in my case, I'm selecting a destination ID. So this will transfer these 2 items into that ID. And here I have the ID on this screen, and I'll refresh the screen like that. So now I have all these items in this ID. It's in E40M. So what can I do with it? First off, I can use that mixed pallet, store it into inventory, and then sell from it, or I can extract inventory out of it for the selection of raw materials for production, or just take inventory out for the sale, and so on. A couple other features to note. We talked about printing. Talking about setup here. If you recall that I indicated that the ID keeps track of the weight and all that automatically in the background, and that you see that information here. There is an override button here, and or checkbox, that allows you to override this information below, the weight and so on, because the computation may not be exact, and you may want to perfect that as you ship. Disallow break is an option that forces the system to not break the pallet as a last resort. When you're selling inventory, it will go through, sell the same item IDs. That's a mouthful. It will sell the same item IDs first before selling individual units or individual eaches, and then it will look at the mixed pack or mixed inventory pallets, and it will sell from there. And it will break it, and it will break it if necessary to get at that inventory. But if you say disallow, it won't break it. Remove when cleared and invoiced and issued. So both invoicing, bill of materials, and work order, when you're relieving an ID, it will carry that information to history, and we'll do that. And it defaults to clear the ID when you invoice it. The inbound, outbound. So if I buy if I do a receipt of goods, and the system will keep track of the purchase orders associated to that ID during receipt of goods. As I sell it, it will keep track of the sales orders, the invoices for all the IDs that go out. There may not be a one-to-one. Maybe an ID spread out between multiple purchase orders, and so that's why there's room for not just a single ID or a single purchase order number, but additional ones, and that's why there's fields like this. The fields look a little, it looks better like that, but there you go. In facility, we've gone to a little extra length so that you can have your own UDF fields. Obviously, this is a nice screen where you can put your own UDF fields. There's instructions in the manual to add your UDF fields to the pallet tag report. Might be very handy. Definitely, there's those that want to keep track of barcode numbers and who knows what else. We put it in facility. You know, that's in reference to in your facility kind of information. Transaction history, this was to represent all the ins and outs. And of course, allocations, if you remember from regular our regular multi-bin warehouse management, we're keeping track of when inventory is allocated against inventory in here. So if there was something, like an invoice or sales order had earmarked some inventory out of here, you'd be able to see it on there. Okay, so that's the anatomy of a mixed ID. And here I'll go ahead and move it from one warehouse or one bin location to another. So I'm in E40M, and let's put it under A10U. When I did that transfer, it provided a full audit trail of what it just did, and that's all associated to the inventory item. So now let's go look at my inventory. Let's see here. I'll pull up ARS 9101, and here now you can see that I have my pallet ID here, and then you see I have 6 pieces in my, I guess, in my shipping dock. So there's 6 pieces over there, and this pallet ID. Now we talked about the linkage and break. You'll note that we provide some quick links over, or quick buttons over here, and then of course this is the drill down back into the main ID. If I were to select this ID in a transaction, I'll have the choice of exploding it. But since it's a mixed ID, let's see, let's try that in physical count. Let's go into physical count entry here, and I'll select that ID. Oh, I got a lot in here. Let me clear that first. I'll clear everything. Let's go back into here. And that button right here gives me the ability to select it. And pardon me, I could have refined my selection by selecting that ID type. So we'll just select the PALs. I'll select that PAL, and now it exploded the contents of my pallet into physical count. If I were to import that, do the same, it will freeze. Or, pardon me, it will count all the inventory on that ID for me. Okay, so what I'll do here is let me go into physical count. Let's clear that. So some of the other things to be conscientious of, and some of the other things that are provided here. I can do a sort by that ID. So perhaps I can use down here. Oh, let's scroll down here. I can choose to select IDs here in the selection criteria too. Or I can say something like this, not equal to blank, and then sort by IDs. And then what I can do too is I can even select a range of bin locations. So this says, okay, give me all my IDs sorted by IDs within the A range. And I'll print the quantity on hand and I won't freeze it. I'll just print the report only. And these ones are within, or it's just the pallet ID that's within the A bin locations. So what I can also do is use count card. Oh, looks like it's never been turned on over here. I can use count card and explode it up here. I could have selected it like that. And notice it gives me the explode pallet. So much like multi-bin, much like lotted inventory in standard mass 90, you get an option to explode. Multi-bin gives you the option to, if you were to select an item with multi-bin on it, it will give you a choice to explode all the inventory for that item in the different bin locations. And here, I can explode the pallet ID here in my count card too. Okay, so those are the benefits of physical count. Let's see. I think there was one other thing here. Was there a sort? Yeah, there's an ID sort also here. Much like item sort in data entry, there's an ID sort too. So, of course, for multi-bin, if you didn't know, you can select the bin location there too. So there you go. That's physical count. Now, I do want to cover exploding IDs within transactions like sales order entry on picking sheets and invoicing and all that, but it's more practical to do that with the same ID type. So I'll tell you what, let's open this up for questions right now. Let's pause for a minute, and then we'll get into using same items on these case pack IDs and so on. So I opened it up. Are there any questions or any comments, anything on your mind? Have you tried the donuts? The donuts are good.
I don't have any questions at this time. This is Wendy.
Very good. Thank you for saying. Now, how about following? You get the structure of an ID. You get the ID, the concept of the ID type and its purpose.
I do. I guess one question I might have is it recommended in creating IDs, even like at the bin code level, is it recommended to start with a numerical number rather than an alpha number kind of structure?
Just straight out number, like 1, 0, 0, 0, 0,
Yeah.
1, so on, like that. More often than no. A lot of time alphanumeric. Most everyone I see using the system are doing alphanumeric.
Okay, so and that's what I was thinking. If like regions were a 1 or 2, 3, 4, and then breaking that down in a little finer detail as far as aisles maybe being.
Oh, pardon me, I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about IDs. Are you saying to use numbers as bin? Could you try me again? I'm sorry. Were you saying using numbers as bin locations? I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, yes. So kind of structuring the bin locations where I have a warehouse and then I have a region, and maybe that region, I'm wondering if we should default regions to being the number, which would be the first in the segment of a bin location. So region like 1, and then aisle A, and then rack or shelf. You know, is there a recommended structure in that sense?
You know, I'm going to say a lot depends on the user. Everything depends on the user, but I will answer your question. A lot of times, I don't hear region in the bin location scheme. This aisle plus number, most of the time is it. But to get the row or column, that would be helpful if you have that kind of rack and they really have that kind of small, let's say small inventory on that kind of rack system. Now I'll tell you some of the exceptions. Some of the exceptions are because of the user, it's not practical to have such a small bin location. Just describe a worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, customer starting off fresh, doesn't have a very good inventory. Maybe I shouldn't even say that, but doesn't have, it's not well organized in their inventory, and so maybe it's a lot easier to represent a whole aisle as a bin location. It doesn't even have to be organization. It could be they don't have the wherewithal or they don't have the time to keep track of the inventory movements within the aisle, let's say. Maybe it's a lot easier to represent the whole aisle. Just say, okay, go over there. It's over there. It's in aisle A. Go get it. You know, that's the worst common denominator, let's say. The next level, of course, would be to represent the aisle and then the column within that aisle. Okay. So aisle A, and what kind of scheme do I have? It's like, in my case, I have A20M. 20 is the column down aisle A, and M is representing medium in the middle. So rather than individual rows represented in my scheme, it's a little bit looser. L for low, medium, high, up on the top. And some customers with rack systems for pallets or whatever, let's say the whole column represents that one item, and they're always doing picking from the bottom, and so the top racks may automatically come down, or they got to shift inventory down, and maybe keeping track of that movement going from just the middle shelf down to the bottom shelf just so they can pick it, maybe just overkill. If they don't have RF handhelds, that might be a little too much. But if they do have RF handhelds, and maybe that is practical. Maybe they want to know at the point when they need to shift that inventory down, and so knowing the quantity on hand in that lower shelf will be important to them. So those are some of the things to consider.
What I'm trying to keep in mind is if they want to, for instance, do cycle counting, and
yes.
they want to just count a certain area, and if they put in a range of their bin locations, keeping in mind that that area needs to come out in a range within math.
Right.
When you put in, I'm gonna count this range, and
yeah.
so that's why I was kind of leaning towards starting with a numerical character and then moving into an alpha, and then possibly more fine-tuning from there as far as which shelf we're looking at.
Got it. But note that in the bin location setup, you can designate a region code.
Okay.
Okay, and we even use that in physical count. I could select a region code to do selection, in this case, for all my BC locations. Right?
Okay.
So I don't have to filter it by a range of bin locations. And I hear you that you want to filter it from the top down, the top segment of your bin location, and that's all good, and you can, but this is another way of doing it if you didn't have the zone in your bin location number.
So we don't need the zone, or in the word or region, using interchangeably.
Right.
We don't need that to be part of the bin location number.
No.
Okay.
Now, I see customers doing it. A lot of times those are customers coming from larger systems over to our systems, and they have this scheme in place. I think that's where I see it more often, or you have some J.D. Edwards guy, right? There's always those.
Yeah.
But A through Z, I see it a lot, and so you don't have to. Is the bottom line. If you, of course, if it makes more sense, then by all means, I could say that if you have quasi warehouses today in Mass 90, I call it quasi, fictitious warehouses in Mass 90 to represent areas of the warehouse for some reason. Maybe that's why someone might use that in the beginning of bin location. I was trying to think of a case just like that the other day, and they were representing an alpha character for the particular warehouse. But anyway, particular zones of your warehouse or regions, by all means, you can if you want to, if it makes a lot of sense, but we're not requiring it. You see the region code here. Some of the reports, it's here too. Here's the stock status report. It's you can select the region code, and then we have the ability to for directed put away. You have the ability to select a region code there to help direct where goods are supposed to be put away. And there'll be a little bit more on that on actually directed picking coming soon features, but not very popular, but some customers request it.
If they want to use Wave, will that still be okay to have the region separated out from the bin location and not have it incorporated in its scheme?
Good question. Are you referring to the wave batch picking, or were you referring to our, we do have coincidentally a page break by region on our picking sheet, where we're thinking of wave batch, probably wave batch picking and page breaking,
Yeah.
or by zone or by regions, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not by range of bin location. Ironically,
Okay.
you know, we provide in wave batch picking, we provide a split feature, and where you can select a particular region to break out and split a wave pick sheet into multiple pick sheets. So there too, you don't need it's not required to have it within your bin location numbering. We provide a code to help you.
Okay. That makes
So
sense.
I'm going to say the code's still there too, and you really don't need numbering. I suppose when you see customers getting A to Z in their aisles, and you know they ran out of space, then you sort of say kick yourself in the head in the rear to say, oh, I should have put a zone in there in the front. That may be the exception, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
We didn't want to run out of space at some point in time as growth is occurring pretty quickly with this company, and we didn't want to not keeping the future in our minds and realize that we locked ourselves in.
Right,
so,
right,
okay.
Yeah, right. Yep,
Great. Thank you,
good
Tom.
question. Yep, no, good question. So, yeah, so let's, any more questions?
There was one other
Yeah, Ron, this is, go ahead.
Go ahead, Todd. I was going to say it for you, but go for it.
Okay, go ahead.
A couple things
how
besides
you doing?
that. Hey, Ron. All right, how you doing, brother? Hey,
right.
A couple things besides the questions that I submitted, and you can respond to those as you like, either verbally or in writing. But is there functionality, and the way I'm kind of seeing this used at our client is either through production or through receiving as they're palletizing things. So, you know, for example, if it's, you know, bags of sugar or, you know, case packs of something, that you're saying, okay, well, a pallet's going to be 20 bags or 20 units, 20 cases, that you could say, all right, well, I just produced 500 bags, and so that's, if it's 20, that's going to be, what, 200 or 25 pallets. So I would say I produced 500 bags. I want to basically group it into 25 pallets, have it give it those pallet IDs, so that those pallet IDs then get moved to the bins.
Right, right.
Does that make sense?
We're getting there. Yep, we're getting there. Yeah,
okay.
we just getting warmed up here with the mixed pallet here, and I'm looking here at your questions. Can you cover the use of the LP function creating automatically? We're going to do that now. Automatically, we're going to do that. We're just taking it one step at a time on that. Was there you know, my drill down is just terrible here. Let's see. Brandy, can you help me on the other question?
Oh, the other question is, do you have to have multi-bin enabled in a warehouse in order to use the pallet or the license plate functionality?
Yes, absolutely.
So what would happen if you would it just break it? If you try to transfer a license plate to a non-multi-bin warehouse?
Oh,
I guess you would break it first and then transfer.
Sure. Oh yeah. If you're going to move inventory to a non-multi-bin warehouse, it will break it. What's most common is you create just one bin location in that other warehouse if you want to keep it intact.
Okay.
Yep.
Or, you know, if that other warehouse is always going to have it, you know, maybe one is their bulk warehouse and the other is what they ship from. Maybe you just take it to that one bin, and then break it there into its components in that one bin, in that one warehouse. That makes sense?
Yeah, I suppose if so if you wanted the inventory broken, is that what you're saying?
Right. Yeah, obviously, in a non-multi-bin warehouse, you're going to break it. So I would imagine then that it's going to be in its component parts. So your suggestion is put one bin in there, and then take it in there, and then use that break functionality to break it into its.
What normally customers do is they say, well, we're doing a transfer of this pallet. We're moving it over to this warehouse, which we normally don't do a lot of multi-bin stuff. And so what we suggest is just creating one bin location in that other warehouse. So it is enabled in that other warehouse, but you just have one bin location, right? And so what happens is then when you're doing the and I should do a transfer of the mixed goods right now, and we'll do a transfer from the one warehouse to the other, and that way you get all of our features, because there might be other things too. You're tracking expiration date, vendor lot traceability information, all of that, and a lot of times customers are also after the allocation features of our stuff too, directed picking, and so if you want to keep all that, you got to send it to a warehouse where it's turned on.
Okay.
Even if you have
all that functionality requires multi-bin to be enabled in that warehouse.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Life is not that bad. Life is still good with our software there.
Oh no.
Even though, yeah. So here, just as an example, and while we're talking about it, if I were to go in transaction entry and do a transfer of my infamous pallet ID, I'll select 001 there, and pardon me, I got this box open over here, and I'll select our guy here. So when I do a transfer, I got to select the destination bin location in warehouse 001, and I'll send it over there. When I select that, it will bring everything across. It will load up the screen with the contents of my ID, and it's all preloaded in here, and I'm done. When I do that with the RF handheld, it does the same thing. It all goes into transaction entry, and you can get the auto update feature if that's absolutely necessary for the warehouses. The auto update feature from ScanForce if you needed it too. The other thing that we do too is transfer of inventory. You know what? I'll hold off on that. I'll get back to that. But anyway, that's how you do a transfer from one warehouse to another.
And that moved the whole pallet ID from one warehouse to the other?
Exactly.
Intact? Okay.
Intact. You bet. In fact, here. The audit trail, the infamous audit trail. And in this case, we moved, I was still in it, here, and it went to 001. Over there, you have the transaction history. If I go to ARS 9101, ARS 9101, you'll see my inventory now with that ID over here. Yep. And that's moving an entire pallet from one warehouse to another, transaction entry. But going location to location within the same warehouse, our quick transfer and our group transfer tend to be used.
Cool. Perfect.
Okay. All right. Brandy, did I miss any questions? I'm sorry. Brandy, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. Nope, it looks like we're good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's get into same ID handling. So in this case, what we want to do is track IDs with the same kind of inventory on there: case packs, master packs, even pallets. So what we're going to do here is I have multiple screens open. Sorry about that. Here, so why don't we create a new item? Let's see. Let's call this a lot new. So this will be a lotted inventory item, and I'll copy this from the infamous 2480. See, from 2480, and see, it brings it across here. Okay, all right. Just noting here what we have here. So a lot new, and there's no inventory here. And so what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about some of the features that we provide for the same allotted an ID. And it just occurred to me I didn't talk about one feature on the mixed ID. So let's hold this thought. And one last thing that I didn't talk about, and it has to do with receipt of goods. And my apologies for not doing this. And it goes quick. Here, we'll do a new receipt of goods. And we do provide the ability to select an ID right on the header of a receipt of goods. This way, all the goods that I received, all the goods that I receive can be associated to one ID. Of course, I can change that ID as I do data entry, but this just saves a little time data entry-wise from my purchase order. Okay. I don't have to go through the demonstration on it, but that's why there is an ID in the case of this header of this receipt of goods. So back to our new item, what I think I'll do here is I'll create a purchase order, and then we'll do a receipt of goods on it, and then let's work on the different case packs on it. Let's see, let's have IBM buy this inventory. And this is a lot new. And by the way, I should mention, note, the purchase unit of measure is case pack. So let's go back to the setup of the item and let's see how this is set up. For this, I have case pack for the purchase unit of measure. In the system, we do give options to correlate different units of measure, different ID types to the case unit of measure for the item. We can do that here by item in the screen. So for put away, for receipt of goods, I can designate the ID type associated to the Mass 90. So in the stock unit measure code was case, and so I could have created, and I do have in my system, the ability to have the ID type code of case. I can also designate the quantity per case pack cartons. Carton would be sort of like a master pack, and then a pallet, and the number of cartons per pallet. I don't have to have all these fields filled in, but I can use this information in manufacturing in both bill of materials and work order to do production. And we can get there in a little bit, especially if we want to talk about that. So on the sales side, I can also designate the sale unit of measure, and this will correlate back to the Mass 90 unit of measure code. So I could have had case on the sale unit of measure, and I could have designate the ID type for associated to that. The benefit of that is so that when the system calculates the best case pack to sell and master pack and all that, it will use that information to automatically sell that, sell those goods. All right. So that's what that's what this setup is all about. Now, we provide these settings here in inventory maintenance. You can also do these settings in product line maintenance. So let's see here. In my case, for this one item, pardon me, I got out of inventory maintenance. Sorry about that. Here, let's go back to inventory maintenance, A lot new. So for A lot new, I could have designated the sale, default case type, case ID type, and the purchase ID type to correlate to the mass 90 unit measures. I could have done that here in product line maintenance. So that's FD, and I can designate that information here on the multi-bin tab down here. These ID types for the product line will still be valid for a given item, even though it's created after the fact. So, for example, I created my item, I selected this product line, I have my settings over here. I don't have to pull those settings over into the inventory maintenance in order for it to take effect. When you purchase or when you sell, the system first says, do I have anything set up for this product line with these settings? If it doesn't, then it will look for under the item. If it does, it will grab that information, and of course, anything set up by the item will override what it initially picked up from product line maintenance. So the product line maintenance provides defaults for given product lines to just speed setup of the system, basically. Okay, so in this case, let's purchase a lot new. Pardon for the jumping around a little bit there. And so let's buy 5 case packs. And let's go into receipt of goods. Oops, not receipt of invoice. And we'll select our purchase order from IBM. And so we're buying 5 case packs now. And so in this case, notice it defaulted the case type because it picked up the case type code from product line maintenance. If you saw the case pack, they're associated to the mass 90 case pack, and that's why I was able to default it. Had I received in goods that were not lot serial, the system can auto-generate all the IDs for the case packs automatically. But since we need lot numbers, we can't automatically generate those. So for example, here, I'm going to click next number. It will increment the next one. It's put in the receiving dock because I have the receiving dock in warehouse code maintenance for my staging location. If I have no staging location in warehouse code maintenance for the receiving, then it will prompt me for the bin locations for it to go to. So let's create a code. So it's a year and distribute 1. So we're doing 5 case packs. And let's say even this one is the same lot number for the sake of example, but this one we'll do 140123. And note I have expiration date control and vendor lot traceability on this turned on here, so I could input that information. Of course, if you know those features, that information can be inputted at any time. And one more, 124 on that one. So here I purchased 5 case packs. Yes, you can import these. You can use Visual Integrator to import these. And you can use RF handhelds to receive these too. If I click on it back on a line, note this turns to an edit button, and I can drill down back into the ID that it just created. If I were to delete the transaction, it knows better to leave a bunch of dead ID types back out there, and it will purge those automatically for you. I can choose to print pallet text. These could be the labels or reports. This is looking at receiving only when I'm printing this from receipt of goods. In this case, I'm using it as a report. So this is an ID here, and it goes through each ID here, 27, 28, and so on. It computed the weight here, and that seems to be the only factor I got set in there. So let's do a, oops, let's see, I might have it open here. I do. And I had product line maintenance open over here too. So there is an audit trail that we provide. It's always a sub-report that multi-bin warehouse management provides on there, and here you have an audit trail of the IDs also, along with the bin location. In this case, we brought all our goods into the receiving dock, and let's see, pardon me. Okay, so let's go into bin location maintenance so that you can look at that inventory. And I do have a few things in here, don't I? This is what we just received. These are the 5 case packs. So now what I can do is I can use my group transfer and move, oh yeah, I'll just select this one item, and let's move this all to a regular bin location. Let's say I checked it in, and I'm going to transfer all that inventory to A10M now. Whoops. And then, so now I can still look at my inventory over here at A10M that way. And here I'm looking at my inventory this way. If I go back to inventory maintenance, which was still up for that one item, we can see my inventory there for A10M. Now let's say, let's give this a primary bin location, because let's say I want to sell from there. So A10L, something I usually do, and I'll skip the settings on that. So A10L will be my primary bin location. So what I'll do here is, okay, I'm going to click now I'm doing inventory, this work from the item. So what I want to do is click into the pallet itself and then do a transfer. So if I do a transfer from there, from A10M to A10L, now move that inventory, get me out of there, and now you see my inventory as a case pack within the primary bin location. Actually, what I wanted to do is I'm going to break it. So now I'm going to break it to the standard unit of measure and get out of there. And when I broke it, it purged that ID. That ID is gone too. So now I have a little bit of inventory, 20 units, 20 eaches in there, and then I have my case packs. So now let's do a sales order. Oh, before I do a sales order, let's cover options. So in options for directed picking, I have the system to auto-allocate out of the primary bin locations first. And then, of course, theoretically, in each area of my warehouse, it will allocate by the next bin location and then by the next lot number, the lowest lot number. And then we have these options set, and these are for license plate. Include all areas for the best pallet case ID. So if my inventory was spread out in different areas, let's say my case packs were in the overflow area, because let's say I have all my case packs and pallets over there. So if I have this option set, include all areas for the best case pack ID, what it will do is when I sell goods, it will look at my overflow area, and it'll look at my entire inventory to get me to sell the best case pack. Okay, and then this option, allocate higher case level case ID possible. What it's doing here is it will attempt to sell a larger case pack when possible. So let's say I sold 100, and I had 100 case pack. And I have the settings in here for picking. Now remember, I can have the settings in here, or I can have the settings in product line maintenance, and it will look to look in here and say, what are my valid case packs, master packs, pallet, and it will attempt to sell those, the higher case pack. Now, if I don't have any settings here at all, still the system will allocate from there, but it won't necessarily give it as high priority considered to the other inventory. So if it's important to sell the higher case packs, it's recommended to put settings in here. But like I said, the system will naturally look for it just because you have these options set. So let's go through this. So let's sell 25. Do I have sales order entry open? So let's go to sales order entry and select Maverick, and let's see, A lot new, and I'm selling 25 eaches. I could have selected case packs and all that, but I just select 25 eaches. Oops, pardon me. So none is allocated, so now I'll print a pick sheet. By the way, this is using our new wave pick sheet that we have within the regular printing of picking sheet printing. You no longer have to use our wave pick sheet to print a wave pick sheet. So for an individual sales order. So if you have any questions on that, let me know. But in this case, note what it did was I sold 25 eaches. So it pulled one case pack, one full case pack out of there, and then it got the remainder 5 eaches out of my primary bin location. So let's go back, and I still had options open. Let's go back into inventory maintenance, and I'll refresh the screen so we can see what it did. So it pulled my case pack inventory out first because it takes precedence. Case packs take precedence, and then took the eaches, the 5 eaches, because I didn't have a regular case pack for 5, and so it took 5 each out of my primary bin location. Okay, so now I have a pick sheet. In this case, I printed the wave pick sheet, and in here it's giving an indication to pick the full ID. So it just happens to be the only item on there. And let's see, so what I'll do now is let's go invoicing this. It pulled everything across, defaulted the 25 shipped, pulled the license plate and the eaches from the primary bin location, and then here, so I'm going to go ahead and update it. Oh, before I update it, oh, I had something else out there. Hang on one second here. Okay, that's a kit that wasn't distributed. Okay, so we provide a report to a sales report, which prints the invoice and pallet information on one report. So the idea here is you can sort it by ID or by invoice number. Right now I have a one-to-one situation where I have one invoice to one ID. If I had one ID spread across different invoice numbers going to the same customer, this way I have a report, that a consolidated report, not broken down by invoice number, but by the ID itself. I think this is the only thing that we have out there, so I'll print the whole thing. But this is just a report referencing what invoice number, which IDs are in this shipment. And then what I want to do is take this all the way through And then what's important is the drill down back into invoice history if you needed to get back at the detail. We keep track of all the information. Let's see, let's sort it by date. And there's my Maverick. And you got a full drill down of history of the case packs, pallets sold on a given invoice. And provides a little drill down there. I think there's a, okay. So that's the full cycle of taking inventory, picking it. In our case, we auto-allocated it and invoiced it. Had I built up a pallet and then selected that inventory in the transaction, would be another way of handling this. So for example, I could go into a sales order entry and manually allocated this for, let's select Shepherd Warehouse 000, A lot new. And in this case, I have eaches, don't I? So let's say I'm selling one case pack. I can come in here and from the distribution screen, I can select the case pack here and pre-allocate that and ship that. Had I done this in invoice data entry, I could do the same. We have, with the RF handheld, you have a feature to add IDs to a shipment and pre-allocate them one by one by scanning the IDs. So that's the entire cycle of sales. Let's open this up and see if there's any questions. Oh, did we lose someone? We lost someone. Okay. Any questions on some of that?
Yeah. On your, this is Todd. On your auto allocation there from your sales order, let's say you were building a pallet for shipment to a customer on a sales order. So I have 2 cases of one thing, 3 cases of another. Can I put them all on the same pallet and then basically move that pallet? Okay.
You bet. Here, so let's do this. Let's create a new pallet. Let's go. I'll use my infamous PAL, create a new pallet and warehouse, and I'll put it in A10M for whatever. And then let's go back into item maintenance here, and let's transfer these two. Actually, I got to link it, don't I? I got to link. Click the link button here, and pardon me. Select that. We'll select our palette here that I just created. So this will link inventory from CAS 27 into there, and this will link I don't know what it's saying there. Hold on. Go back into a lot new. And we could do the same here and link that complete. Oh. You know what? This case I had selected. Notice it's allocated. So I tried to link that into somewhere. So this is nice, this came up. So when the system knows that it's been reserved or selected anywhere in the system, it keeps track of that and note that it's warning me, hey, this is on a sales order. You can't go doing what you can't link it to somewhere else. It's already on the sales order. So here I'll select this case. And select that palette. And I'm selecting it from the top. So now go back into the ID maintenance here. You see my tree, right? So I have case pack, and that could have been master pack or pallet, right? And then you wanted to use that in a sale?
Well, actually, what you just did there, I was asking if you could do that in basically the pre-allocation. So I have a person who has a sales order. They want to pre-allocate the 5 items to a pallet so that they can ship that pallet to a customer, or so that pallet can move.
Right.
You know, maybe like on a route sales situation, where I want to put together the 5 pallets for my route sale. So the first customer, their invoice gets this group of items and quantities. Second customer gets this group of items and their quantities.
Right.
So
remember,
if
it
you're
will
going to do
attempt
that
to
from
sell the largest.
pre-allocation. Right.
So one, you can pre-allocate it in sales order entry if you want to manually do it, or two, you can just or you can automatically do it. Remember, the system will auto-allocate the highest case pack for you. A lot new, a lot new. And in this case, I'm selling, whoops, hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. So I'm selling 40 eaches. So we provide this button right here in order to select case packs to a sales order. Especially when you have them in a tree like this, it's best. In this case, I don't have a whole lot of inventory, but you would see all my available inventory in here. I'll pull up another item in a little bit here, and it'll show you the mix of a little better looking tree. But in this case, I can select it over here, and it will bring it over for me. And I'll select it, and it'll bring it right into the transaction. And so to the system, it considers this 2 case packs, and is keeping track of the top level master pack or pallet or whatever. And I can choose to print that too. And it will reference the fact that I have 1 case pack here, or 1 master pack here. And of course, I can invoice that and so on.
Okay, thanks.
Right, right. Got too many screens open over here. So, yeah, good question. Let's see. Shirley, how's it coming? I think I lost one other person here.
I'm just listening in to all the other questions.
Very good, very good.
There was a question about could you build a pallet in sales order, and without going through it again, I guess just my question is, when you're in sales order, you look like you could not build a pallet there. You had to build it either through item maintenance or
right.
pallet ID, and then select the sales order.
You're right.
You're
right. The actual construction, the linking, it doesn't occur in sales order entry. Sales order entry gives you the ability to allocate the inventory. That's true. Very, very true.
Okay.
Very, very true. Now, I should tell you that we have something that that's currently not on the menu right now, but it does give you a little bit of that ability to do construction, to build up pallets, to move what inventory that's been reserved on the sales order into a pallet. We turned it off because it wasn't used, and we didn't like I didn't like the way the design of it, and it's going to get redesigned. But what happens with the RF handheld, it's really taken a lot of that place too, of construction of a pallet, and this linking and the transfers, all these things that I'm doing on the screen can be done on the handheld too. The nice thing about manufacturing, I will say, is it will use the settings that we default in, that we have in here, and we can auto build all the case packs and pallets and actually associate them directly here in the screen.